speaking about doing something good for others and helping and being compassionate and being loving and kind towards others is what we are speaking about this morning on Good Morning Sri Lanka. And I have with me two lovely ladies, Melanie and Lakshmi from the Sri Lanka Sumitra organization. They have been sharing the journey that Sri Lanka Sumitra has taken with us thus far and the work that they continue to do here in Sri Lanka, especially in the rural areas in Sri Lanka. But before we go any further, I want to ask you how you became involved in this organization. Now I understand that it's completely on a volunteer basis.
Yes.
And Lakshmi, you've been part of the organization for 37 years now, and Melanie, you've been there for 20 years. So that this is a lot of time and energy that you've lovingly spent on this cause, and 37 years means you've been there almost from its inception.
Yes, almost from the inception.
So let's speak about how
Right.
you got involved in this, Lakshmi.
Well, I was in Kandy when I started.
Okay.
I was in Kandy, and I had just lost my mother at that stage, and going through her things, I found that the name Sumitra written in her diary. And I did not know what Sumitra meant. So I asked, I had a very good Jesuit friend, Jesuit priest, and I asked him, what about Sumitra? I said, I found this in my mother. Then he told me about the organization. So most probably my mother would have read about it and written it down in her diary. You see?
And you happened to come across it.
And I happened to come across it. So he told me about it, and of course I went. And Sumitra, the center was just walking distance from my home, around the lake, Kandy Lake. And so I went in there and offered my services, and I met the founder of Sumitra, Joan Dimel. I was very fortunate. She is the one who opens Sumitra in Sri Lanka. She is the founder, and I was very fortunate to meet her. She interviewed me, and then she called me for the next training program, and within a couple of months I was a volunteer in Kandy first, and then later in Colombo.
And now you're the director of the rural programs in Sri Lanka. So it's an amazing journey that you've had. I'm sure that you have many experiences that you can share with us. But before we go to those, maybe you can think of something small that really stood out for you during this time. I'll ask Melanie about her journey and how she started out with Sumitra.
Well, I saw the advertisement in the papers. It caught my eye, and I applied, and believe it or not, it was Lakshmi who interviewed me.
Oh, I see.
And I thought to myself, well, I liked the way she spoke to me and asked me all these questions. She was very gentle, and she didn't probe, but I felt like talking to her.
That's the secret.
And I felt, she asked me, can you tell me something sad that happened to your life? And just looking at her, I did tell her that. And, I was so keen, I thought, well, I hope I am called up. And I was. And I had to follow an intensive training. And the training doesn't stop there. We are continuously trained. And so I really enjoyed that first part of it, and now I don't think it's one of the most wonderful things I did in my life for myself, because it's not only you say you help someone, it helps you because it somehow helps you when you help another. You feel that
There's
deep down inside you.
Yes.
Doing something good.
No greater joy than the joy of giving, isn't it?
Yes.
And when you speak about experiences, is there anything, not of course with any personal details, I know that it's completely anonymous, but any experiences that have stood out for you over the years?
Well, one of the things is that I don't know whether because I'm I'm much older than what I was before, that now when I befriend somebody, especially if it is a young woman, they always end up by hugging me and giving me a kiss. I think it's fantastic.
Of course. And I'm sure it's nothing to do with age and all about just the love that you
Yes,
give them,
I know.
that they want to give back to you. But what's the kind of training process that anyone volunteering has to go through when they join Sri Lanka Sumitra now?
Well, it's we have the training is over a couple of weekends, 2 full days, Saturdays and Sundays, over 2 full weekends, and then there is a 6-month. And if we find that they are suitable to be volunteers, and they themselves feel okay, this is something that I would like to do, then they are taken on as probationary volunteers for 6 months, where they work a shift, a 4-hour shift once a week.
Okay.
Once a week on a particular day of their choice. Right? And once a month, at the end of every month, there is another further day of training, half day of training for them over these 6 months. And then it's only finally at the end of that 6 months, the final decision is made whether this person is going to be a volunteer with Sumitra or not.
And can you speak about the spread of Sumitra in Sri Lanka, or the distribution? How many centers are there and how many volunteers are currently enrolled with you?
We have 10 centers, and in the rural program we have got two more. And the centers say out like in Bandaravela and Mavanella and Matale, they have very few volunteers, but they work every day of the week, but not for the whole day. For say perhaps they might work, the minimum is 4 hours.
Right, but of course it's flexible, and you can volunteer
That's right.
and when and how you can.
That's
so
right.
Finally, shall we give out the information and the details that anyone who's watching at home maybe would like to start their journey as a volunteer?
Yes,
You could call the head office, that's situated at 60/7 Horton Place, Colombo 7, and the telephone number is 268-2535, and the email address is sumitrayo.headoffice@eureka.lk.
All right. So there we gave you all the details that you need to take another little step to helping someone else reaching happiness in their lives. And as Melanie rightly mentioned, I think they might find along the way that it helps the volunteer as well, and it helps you when you help someone else. So it is really the joy of giving. So thank you so much, Melanie, as well as Lakshmi, for being with us on the show, for sharing your journey as well as the work that Sumitra is doing here. It's been a pleasure to have you on the show this morning.
And thank you very much.
Thank you, Amaya.
For having given us this opportunity to tell people about Sumitra.
Of course, and awareness is very important as well. We hope that even if you don't carry any other message, you carry this message of how important it is to reach out to others and to be compassionate, to lend a willing ear, and maybe you can change someone's life as well. So with that, we're going to end this morning's segment of Good Morning Sri Lanka. And before we go, we're going to leave you with a very happy song to brighten up your morning. And this is Pharrell Williams' Happy. Enjoy. We'll see you tomorrow.